Hello, and welcome to Modern Skills in English. Today, we're talking about a document that many young people face with real anxiety, your first rental agreement, or lease.
I'm actually holding one right now, and my hands are sweating. It's 20 pages of tiny text. It feels less like an agreement and more like a trap. I feel like if I make one wrong move, one mistake, I could lose thousands of dollars. How am I supposed to understand this? Do I need to be a lawyer?
That's the feeling, isn't it? That you're being tested. Most students believe the purpose of a lease is to trick them, so they try to read every single word, searching for those tricks. They believe their job is to become a legal expert in one afternoon.
Yes, exactly. And it's impossible, so I just feel overwhelmed. I'm tempted to just sign it and hope for the best.
That's the path most people take. But what if we reframe this? What if a lease isn't a legal test? What if it's just a story?
A story? It looks like a legal weapon.
It's a story about your future life in that apartment. It's written in a strange, formal language, but it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And your only job is to find the three most important parts of that story. Not to understand every word, but to understand the main plot points.
The three most important parts of the story. Okay, what's the first one?
The first is the story of your money. Most people look for the big numbers, the rent, the security deposit. They check if the numbers are correct, and then they stop.
That sounds reasonable. That's what I did. I checked the rent amount, and it's what we agreed on.
And that's where the problems start, because the number itself isn't the full story. The real story is in the rules that control the number. For your security deposit, for example, the important question isn't just how much is it? The real questions are, what is the exact list of things that would cause me to lose this money? And when and how do I get this money back?
That's a good point. I just assumed I would get it back if I didn't break anything.
That assumption is what costs people money. A good lease will have a specific section, a specific part of the contract that explains this. This section is often called a clause.
A clause. So I'm not just looking for the number. I'm looking for the clause that tells the story of that number.
Exactly. You are looking for the story of how your deposit money leaves your bank account, stays with the landlord for a year, and then finds its way back to you. If that part of the story is confusing or missing, then you have a problem. It's the same with rent. The amount isn't the story. The story is, what happens if I'm 1 day late? Is there a fee? How much is it? What happens if I'm 5 days late? The answers must be in the story.
Okay, so the first step is to find the story of my money. The rules, not just the numbers, the clauses. That makes sense. It feels more manageable than read the whole thing. What's the second story I need to find?
The second story is the what-if story. This is the part of the lease that talks about problems.
Nobody wants to think about problems when they're excited about a new apartment.
I know, it feels negative. It's much easier to just trust that the landlord is a good person and will take care of things. But hope is not a good strategy. A lease is an agreement for the future, and the future is always full of surprises. The what-if story is the chapter that answers all the questions that start with the words, what if?
Like, what if the heater breaks in the middle of winter?
Precisely. Or what if the pipe under the sink starts leaking? Who is responsible for fixing it? And who is responsible for paying for it? In legal terms, who is liable?
Liable. Okay, I see that word in here. Tenant is liable for all damages caused by negligence. It sounds scary.
It can be, but it's better to know the story now than when your floor is covered in water. The lease should tell you exactly who to call, how to report a problem, and how long they have to fix it. If it says you are liable for all repairs, that is a huge red flag. A good lease protects both you and the landlord. It creates a clear plan for unexpected problems.
So I should read this section like I'm imagining bad things happening?
Think of it less as imagining bad things and more as discovering the emergency plan. What if you get locked out? What if you want to have a guest stay for a few weeks? What if you want to paint a wall? The lease should give you a clear answer. If there is no plan for problems, the landlord is not a professional.
So find the money story and find the what-if story. Got it. What's the third and final one?
The third one is the goodbye story. Every renter is so focused on moving in, they forget that one day they will have to move out. They don't read the last chapter.
The end of the lease. It's a year from now. Why is that so important to read today?
Because how you leave is just as important as how you arrive. If you do it wrong, it can be very expensive. The lease is a contract, and like any contract, there are rules for how to end it. You can't just decide to leave one day. You have to formally terminate the agreement.
Terminate. Right. So what does that story look like?
It's usually in a section called termination or move out. It will tell you exactly how many days notice you need to give the landlord before you leave. 30 days? 60 days? It's a critical piece of information. Many leases also have a rule for automatic renewal. If you don't terminate the lease correctly, it might continue for another year automatically.
Wow, okay, that could be a huge problem. I would have never thought to look for that. I was just focused on the beginning.
Everyone is. The goodbye story tells you how to leave cleanly without losing your deposit or being charged for an extra month's rent. It's the final, crucial chapter. So, if you can tell those 3 stories, the story of your money, the story of what if, and the story of goodbye, you understand your lease.
That makes sense, Sarah. It really does. This framework is so much better than just read it all. But I have to be honest, a part of me is still anxious. If I find something I don't understand or don't like, what do I do? If I start asking questions, the landlord will think I'm difficult. They'll just give the apartment to the next person in line. I feel like I have no power here.
That is a very real fear, Mark. And it's the reason so many young renters get into bad situations. They are afraid of losing the apartment, so they stay silent. Let's reframe that too. You are not being difficult. You are being a responsible partner in this agreement. A good landlord, an experienced and fair landlord, wants a tenant who reads the contract carefully. It shows that you are serious and will likely be a good tenant.
You think so? It feels like I'm questioning their authority.
Let's look at the alternative. A landlord who gets defensive or angry when you ask a simple question for clarity, what does that tell you about them?
That they might be hiding something, or that they will be difficult to deal with later if there's a real problem.
Exactly. Your questions are not just about the contract. They are a test of the landlord character. Many leases have sections that are not clear. They might be poorly written. They might be ambiguous.
Ambiguous.
Yeah, there's a part here about routine property inspections, but it doesn't say how often or with how much notice. That feels ambiguous. Perfect. That's a perfect example. The language doesn't give you a clear picture. So you don't need to demand they change it. You can simply ask them to clarify it for you. You can ask them to specify what routine means. You can say, I'm reading the clause about inspections, and I just want to be sure I understand it. Could you please specify what the normal notice period is before a visit? The question is polite, it's reasonable, and their answer and how they answer tells you everything.
So my real job isn't to be a lawyer. My job is to be a good reader of stories. And if a part of the story is ambiguous, I just ask the author to specify what they meant. The lease is the document, but the conversation is the real test.
Now you understand. The 3 stories are your guide. The story of money, the story of problems, and the story of goodbye. Before you sign, just ask yourself, can I tell these 3 stories clearly? If the answer is no, you have more questions to ask.
Okay, let me try to use this. I'm looking at the clause about the security deposit again. It doesn't say exactly what kind of damage would make me lose the money. It just says any damage beyond normal wear and tear. That feels really ambiguous.
It is. And because it's ambiguous, you don't know who will be considered liable if there's a small scratch on the floor when you move out. And this is exactly the kind of unclear language that causes arguments when it's time to terminate the lease. A simple email asking for examples of what they consider damage could save you a lot of trouble. I'm looking at these 20 pages now, and they don't feel like a weapon anymore. They just look like a plan. A very detailed, very formal plan. I still need to read it carefully, but I know what I'm looking for. I'm not lost anymore. I'm looking for my story, the story of my new home. Hello to everyone listening. We hope this changes the way you see your next contract. If there's another adulting skill that feels confusing or stressful, please let us know what you'd like us to talk about next in the comments.